Yeah, I wanted to get that Raiders look because I got that Raiders hat, and I'm still a Ram fan also, but that's like my backup team. So let's get this show started. Hit that like button, that subscribe button. Let's get on some of this raggedy Jasmine Crockett stuff before I left the house and went out and about today to celebrate Juneteenth. So happy Emancipation Day to everyone out there. And until then, let's get this show started. It's gonna be some struggle screaming. I know it's been a while. Then I'm gonna make this short because people out here protesting in Van Nuys. I saw that before I got on air. So uh, Raggedy Jasmine Crockett, when I left earlier this morning, I said she on the View. On Juneteenth Day of all days to be on the View. Talking madness. Talking creepy. I wasn't going to stumble it because anybody in their right mind can see this is some kind of lame sit-up, demise, don't make sense. And this is going to be one of the leaderships of the party. She's going to get a ticket to run. Her and AOC may have a ticket. Fill that stage up. Hindered it. Hinder the party. Or something. Never know. You might get a chance to push on through. Ooh, excuse me. Burping off of coffee. So let's look at some of the stuff because, like, to call us the voters and some of us out on like we silly or stupid. That's a rumor. I heard some people say so. Let me see if I can find something just to give you a glimpse of what I'm really talking about. Let's start with, oh man, my favorite girl, Red Cup, talk with Mika. Let's start off here so you can get an idea of where I'm going. Then we might get back to her investigation because she has been quiet lately. Very quiet. So let me back this up, put it back in.
The Minnesota
You see that? No matter what I try to do, they really don't want me to get in on this pocket.
Well, I can feel the feeling of somebody.
Let's get back to it.
Like a breeze out.
Okay. She wanted to show up and pop Jasmine Ratchet Crockett. I'm so sick of that one. When I tell you I'm sick of her, I'm sick of her. And being that it's Juneteenth, she decided to pop out. I don't know why. But she wants to pop out, show us, maybe her new wig, because the wig did look like it was moisturized. So maybe it's a new wig. Okay. She wanted to show up and pop out and talk to us about Juneteenth and all of this other nonsense and DEI.
Ooh.
She wanted to give us, her perspective. So, you guys, we're going to get into Jasmine Crockett here because Jasmine Crockett wants to tell us about Juneteenth. Per usual. Here we go.
Today, we're celebrating Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Tell me about Juneteenth.
Listen, now I'm a Texan.
Yes, you are.
So I feel like the rest of the country is just now kind of getting tuned in.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that being a Black woman, and for those that don't understand Juneteenth, this was about the fact that the last slaves down in Texas finally 2 years later realized that, or were made aware that they were no longer enslaved people. But in this time, though, especially with the anti-DEI movement and the rollback just of our civil rights and our civil liberties.
Now, I have to stop it right there. DEI. Nobody's not even talking about DEI. DEI does not benefit Black men, nor white man, nor any man. It doesn't. Hey, it just don't cough up to be what it claims to be. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was something to snuff out some of the things that was put together in civil rights. like discrimination uh, with hiring those from another race. That's what that is. So they had to put DEI in place because that was in place. I forgot the name of it, but y'all know the Discrimination Act of something. I'm quite sure you'll find the real name of it, but it was put in place to snuff out that because that was up under civil rights. So let's get back to this show. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. All it does is set up the playground for socially constructive orders, meaning separation of your family, y'all. Y'all Latino exes should be really scared of that also. That's what that construct has in it. So let's get back to the show, Fair You.
As a whole, as well as ignoring the Constitution. And there's so many rights that Black folk got specifically just from the Constitution.
Now, I got to stop it right there. Isn't Jasmine Crockett from like St. Louis or something like that? I don't remember her being a Texan, like growing up. But I could be wrong. However, she's talking about, again, how she likes to float, because she can't not talk about Donald Trump. Okay, so that's a given. However, when she's talking about the Constitution right here, what she's talking about is the Constitution saying that the 14th Amendment was for Black people. However, Ratchet Crockett and the rest of her gang, okay, bald-headed Ayanna Priestley, Ayo Crazy, all of those people, the squad, Ilhan, all of those people, they like to use it for the illegals. They like to use the 14th Amendment for the illegals when they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, which is why I don't get it. But the party of slavery loves to keep using Black people for all their, nefarious agendas, like bringing a bunch of people over here to change the demographics, including changing them on Black people, not just white people, changing them on Black people, changing them on anybody that's already here. That's what she's talking about. But she's hiding it under the guise of, I want to teach everybody about Juneteenth because I'm a...
Yeah. See? And she is right. Hiding it. 20 million of them came over here. Just let the drawbridge down. I would, just imagine if I was coming across the border, I said, it's kind of strange, dude. You think things is going to, nobody ain't trying to catch us. And then you get over here and you get real comfortable and like, oh, man. And then we was taught a long time ago, if somebody trying to sell you something that sounds too good to be true, maybe it's too good to be true. That's what jumped off. And then now we see that, the 4-year term of Joe Biden, who was really running that house, all them people that was locked up during the COVID crisis, all of them was locked up. That's the trail that leads to what was going on in some of the trail that leads to some of the sniffing that was happening in that White House. But now, not only that, all them people didn't end up getting GR, SSI, whole lot of this, and Trump got a surprise that they're not going to get it when they're 65. Those illegals, because they went back. So we're going to get some of that money, and that's going to be in another stream of what, $1 billion, $2 billion he found up in there. Yeah, well, by doing the math. So let's get back to the show. And
Texan. Okay.
And I think that this Juneteenth, everyone, whether you're Black or otherwise, should really evaluate what does freedom look like in this country? Mm-hmm. And are we willing to fight for it? And I think, evaluating what happened at No Kings, I think we are ready and willing to fight for our freedom. But I think that it is important that we come together and we define what freedom looks like for those of us in this country, not just Black folk.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
See, and this is what I'm talking about. Not just Black folks. That means she's not even in the paint for us, not even for us. And feel free to go over there and check out that show. Remember when The View came on this morning? The first topic they got on for some ratings was Donald Trump. That don't make no sense. What kind of talk show talks about one man each and every day? That don't make sense. Something got to add up. They started the show off like that. So feel free to go over there and check out the rest of our girl, Red Table Talk with Jasmine. Man, I got another one for y'all, man. Let's find this one. Let me see if I can find this other one I was checking out. And because the rest of the thing that Jasmine was talking about, she even got to the point that we may, the voters and stuff, we may be all dumb and lame and stupid and all of this stuff, but then you got to look at this part too. Let's check out this guy here, Officer Tatum. So we got Officer Tatum coming up next.
At once, get
reviews on Google and 5-star ratings.
In recent months, Trump has called you, quote, a low IQ person and a lowlife.
I can't imagine being the president of the United States with everything that's going on in the world and worried about a sophomore in the House.
Life is hard, but it's harder when you're stupid.
You think that No Kings demonstration is going to do something?
I hope so.
Yet they support Iran and they support Hamas. But it's a no king thing. These people are not run by a democracy. And then how in the would anybody be a king in America?
So feel free to go over here and check out his show, y'all. Now let's get to the part where he's going to talk about some of the Jasmine stuff. Now, I haven't seen this part of the show, but I'm quite sure this brother be on point. He used to be a police officer. Feel free to go over there and check out the Officer Tatum show. And let's get this thing on the ball.
I put my life on it. I haven't watched this clip. I put my life on it that they're not gonna appropriately articulate the truth about Juneteenth. I put it on my life, and I'm gonna tell you what they're not gonna say after I play the clip, because I just want to make sure. And I don't know what to do. If I lose, I gotta jump out this window, right, Nick? I'm gonna jump through the glass. I'm not gonna even don't open it. I'm just gonna jump through the glass to my death. This is the last podcast y'all gonna see me if they tell the truth about this. Roll the clip.
Today.
Let me not hold on.
Juneteenth.
I'm joking. Somebody gonna say you joking. I'm joking. I know for a fact they're not gonna tell the truth because they lying. H words. Roll the clip.
And that means we're celebrating the day 160 years ago when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, finally learned they had been freed. Lots of other people knew, but they didn't know in Galveston. And here we are, 160 years later.
Well,
If you see Whoopi when you die, you went to hell. I just want you to know that. Now let's talk about Juneteenth just real quick. I don't need to do a whole history lesson. Juneteenth, there were enslaved blacks in Galveston, Texas, that did not know they were officially free. Although it was rumored that they were free, although other blacks told them that they were free, they didn't believe them. And in 1865, they were officially told that they were free. And that's why they celebrate Juneteenth. However, all black people still weren't free, because actually, if you do the research, in Juneteenth, the Galveston people who acknowledged or finally got the, got the confirmation that they were free, they were not the only slaves. What these cowards fail to mention, and they do it intentionally, and this is why I have a problem with all this stuff. Just keep it real. What they fail to mention, because they don't want this to be a part of history, is that it was still slaves. the Choctaw Indian had not released their slaves. But they don't want you to know that Indian people that the natives own slaves. And they don't want you to know that that was the actual last remnant of slaves released, is when the Choctaw released their slaves a year later. With the next year, I don't know if it was actual calendar year, but the next year, the Choctaw Indian released their slaves, which were the final remnant of black slaves released to freedom. That's why it's so disingenuous for them to pick June 19th, 1865, when it probably would be March something, 1866. But they cannot have in history that Indians were the last to release black people from slavery, because they can't blame it all on white people. And that's what makes me insanely upset about the disingenuous nature. But since you don't want to tell the truth, then we shouldn't have nothing to do with Juneteenth. Juneteenth should not be a federal holiday. If you look at the holidays, the federal holidays and state holidays, state issues are state holidays. Federal issues are federal holidays. Just because a few people in Galveston, Texas found out they were free, doesn't mean that the country had not already freed black people. Federally, the country had already freed black people. Everybody knew they were free. People in Galveston were told they were free. It's just they didn't believe it. It wasn't confirmed. Federally, they were already free. That's the celebration. That's the holiday. Not when somebody in Galveston, Texas would notify they're free. And they weren't even the last slaves to be freed anyway. Let's play Jasmine Crockett. And we'll go from there. All right. I used to.
This game.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it
up
for another part of the clip.
Think it could. And then I look at the way women vote, and we would be communist China if only women voted. Thank God. And these dumb women are probably the ignorant.
That black folk.
Y'all, Mother Mary, perfect. I'm talking about these other fools. Wrote a clip.
Fair use.
Ignoring the Constitution, and there's so many rights that black folk got.
See, we heard that part.
And I'm not alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Whoopi says that all the time. We're not alone, and that proves it.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Anyway, in recent months, Trump has called you, quote, a low IQ person and a lowlife. Do you take that as a sign that you're doing something right?
See, the thing of it, she's reading some sit questions that she already know that's finna be read to her. So she has time to think on what she's finna say. This is the setup. This is the script. So let's get back to the show.
I hope he also calls her a lawyer. That's another thing that she is.
No, he did not. He did not.
You know, he's good at projecting, is what I'll say to that. But, you know, I can't imagine being the president of the United States with everything.
Let's skip this part.
Who decided that he was going to cut off the aid to everybody. And then you're losing in court every single day. You know, listen, call him the biggest loser because, like, the courts.
All right, hold on. All right, I think that's it. No kings.
Yeah, people talk about no kings, no kings. He's not a dictator. This is not an authoritarian regime. But that's why he's trying to make it like, well, really? That's why the state's suing him. That's why he's losing some of these cases in court. Last time I checked, you're in a position of power. You try to get your way. Somebody sues you. They fend you off by going through our court system. The court system makes a ruling. And as a result, it shows that our system works. What is Trump doing differently than what he campaigned on? You may not like it. That's why you win the election, so he's not in a position to do it. As opposed to focusing on stuff that ain't going to win an election.
Can y'all know how stupid this sounds? No kings. Yet they support Iran and they support Hamas. But it's a no king thing. These people are not run by democracy. And then how would anybody be a king in America? We don't have a structure for somebody to be kings. To be honest, if there was actually a threat of somebody trying to be a king, they'd cut your head off with the crap that you're talking. It's so crazy that people say, what tells you that you're a hypocritical fool is that you have so many freedoms that you are free enough to criticize the freedoms. Go to Iran and tell them about how oppressive they are. You're free with no oppression in the state that you complain about, and you support a state that you couldn't even complain about the actual oppression that they're enduring. Won't say nothing about women that are oppressed in Iran. Won't say nothing about it. But you're supposed to be for women. What does freedom look like? No kings. A bunch of dumb people unemployed running around.
And I'm not alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Whoopi says that all the time. We're not alone, and that proves it.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Anyway, in recent months, Trump has called you, quote, a low IQ person and a lowlife. Do you take that as a sign that you're doing something right?
I hope he also calls her a lawyer. That's another thing that she is.
No, he did not.
I've never seen her get trial. Have anybody seen her get trial?
Yeah, he's good at projecting, is what I'll say to that. But, you know, I can't imagine being the president of the United States with everything that's going on in the world and worried about a sophomore in the House.
Well, you're a powerhouse, darling. Don't minimize.
still, he the president of the United States, right? So it talks about like his level of petty, number one. And it also just kind of goes to the fact that like he's not focused on the things that he needs to focus on. Listen, you're the.
Now, he's not focused on the things. Listen what she said. He's not focused on the things that he needs to focus on. Now, if she's a congresswoman, can anybody in Texas tell me what have she been focused on as her term as a congresswoman in Texas? Has she been to any rallies, fairs? Has she gave out any of these scrolls and stuff? Have she? What is she doing? Because they look like every week, every day, and until an investigation shows up, she vanishes. And when she vanishes, yeah, she's doing what I just said. Some work for her constituents that really voted for her to be a congresswoman. So let's get back to this part.
The president, I'm over in the House, and I'm trying to get these House members to do right by their constituents, which means going against you. But you're taking out your time when people are literally struggling. You said on day one you were going to reduce the price of eggs. We ain't heard nothing about it. You said that you were going to stop all the wars in the world, and it seems like, you go in the opposite direction. Yeah. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's real issues, and there's people that are hurting, and then you had this random sidekick who decided that he was going to cut off the aid to everybody. And then you're losing in court every single day. Talk about, listen, call him the biggest loser because, like, the courts.
All right, hold on. All right, I think that's it. No kings.
Yeah, people talk about no kings, no kings.
So, let's get up out of there on that. And let's see if we can find this one. Check out this. This was a few hours ago. Fair use.
With this AI.
This was 10 hours ago.
AI tool, you can turn your story into a beautifully illustrated children's book.
But here on our homeland as well.
Thank you. And then really quick on Jasmine Crockett, she said, I believe that Trump supporters are mentally ill before calling for bipartisan support against the president. Can you respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now?
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory.
So, in other words, that's what she said on The View. Now, some other people is going to put that out there of what she said on The View. And it is a trip. So let's listen to the rest of this clip.
To accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And
so that's what she said on The View. And that's definitely a trip. So in other words, when she said that, let's go back to this part. Let's see if we can catch it.
Seen any of that, but she likes it as The View.
Yeah, that we don't care how many people get hurt. We don't care how we prostitute our service members. Thinking that you have your own special little army that's for.
Look, fair use. Let's listen to this part. I haven't heard it yet.
This idea that we don't care how many people get hurt. We don't care how we prostitute our service members. Thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick. And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, sad to say, George Bush. Like, give me any regular Republican nowadays and I would be happy. But right now we have someone who does not care, and he is being enabled by the fact that there are, people that follow him and they pump him up, as well as the people that are surrounding him. And so, my heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to protect democracy and freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now literally the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander in chief. It really breaks my heart. And I don't know how far he has to go before we can come together and just say enough is enough. Like, this should not be partisanship.
I think we need to come together and say enough is enough with electing people like Ratchet Crockett, because it's Donald Trump. And that's what we're talking about. And this.
Have you ever run a background check on yourself?
Hold up.
Oh, that's so crazy. What else is on here?
Yeah,
The moment of truth.
We can get back to the show.
He's talking about
all right, ready? Now we're going to get down to see if there's something right here. Fair use.
In this country, in Minnesota, a Democratic representative and her husband and their dog were assassinated. Another lawmaker and his wife were gravely wounded, and the suspect reportedly had a long hit list. So I want to ask you, do you feel safe as an elected official in this political climate?
No, not at all. I mean, here's the deal. I do this job, and the fact that my safety is a part of doing this job is really bad in and of itself. But while we spend millions upon millions just so that this guy can go and golf, or while they spent $45 million for his little birthday parade,
Now, I really got to speed it up because, she's going to take a long time to get to her point, and man, y'all going to really trip. So listen carefully. I'm going to speed it up.
I'm just saying, can we reprioritize some of those dollars?
You can reprioritize your own dollars. Ratchet Crockett went from making $6 figures to $9-10 million per year in the last 2 years. So I don't understand why she doesn't have the money for her own safety. And then they always make a big deal about him going golfing. The man has his own golf course. He don't have to pay anybody to golf. What would we be paying for? Donald Trump literally has his own jets. He doesn't even have to fly the jets that the government has. But he's the president, so he has to. Like, it irritates me because she doesn't know what she's talking about. Okay, he doesn't have to fly Air Force One. He can go fly that Trump jet he already had. Okay, he doesn't have to pay for a golf membership. He has Mar-a-Lago, Trump Towers, all this stuff. Like, she's so annoying. She's so annoying. You have the money. Okay, go ask Act Blue. Ask him, and they will tell you.
Man, Act Blue got your money, girl.
You have the money. You have more than enough because you've been scamming, just like your auntie Maxine. Okay, both of the wigs have been scamming everybody.
When they killed our continuing resolution this last time, one of the things they didn't take out is that they had included an additional, I believe, $10 million to protect non-justices. I'm like, listen, I'm not even asking for $1 million, but can we get something? Because we have nothing. The only people in the House that have protection, you get protection based upon your leadership post. That's it. Those are the only ones. And so when you figure out security, you have to hopefully raise enough money to then be able to pay for security yourself. This is a problem, especially in light of the environment. And so I did text a Republican that I consider to be a friend. Yes, I have Republican friends.
She's talking about Liz Cheney. I should have got one Republican friend because the rest of the white women over there, they don't like her. So here's the thing, because she's talked about them ad nauseum. Okay, Nancy Mace. What's the other one that she had the butch bad built body? Like those women don't like her. Okay, and the black woman that passed away. She's Ratchet. Nancy coming after Ratchet. Anything to you for
their spouses and all kinds of stuff. And another thing that they're not talking about that really ticked me off because I just learned about it in the midst of what happened is that someone has been sending pizzas to members' homes and they've not done anything. So I'm just like, we still have a role to play. I get that nobody really likes the Congress.
Don't nobody's really likes the Congress. Party talks to this woman. Congress, you got a beef with. So I don't know what she's talking about. Bill didn't get a majority of Democrats. Press that every black person here was enslaved when that's a lie.
Check her out, and I got one more thing to show you how hard. Let me show you how hard she's in the paint, y'all. She's in the paint. So I'm gonna show you how hard she's in the paint for policies that really don't interest my fancy, and I don't know if they interest yours. and it's gonna be a short clip. So where are you? Oh. Was it right here? They got away from me. Yeah. Let's check out this.
What clip is this, Rob, that you got here?
Oh, that's that one.
Let's see this one.
Are struggling right now, so she gonna keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do
not
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I'm 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will
am
in my
reclaiming my
life.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child. I am not a child.
See? So what that was about, y'all, that was about when they had that argument, see? And she said trans because that's what she's in the paint for. There's a lot of investments over there on cutting up not the prisoners, the kids. So until then, thank y'all for showing up to the show. And send me some more of that Raggedy Crockett videos, and I'll see y'all until then. Peace. Let's get on. I'm going to be back in a minute with the